Well, hi everyone. Today we're going to be discussing a message from Jesus received by James Paget on the 25th of December 1915. And I'm very fortunate to have Jesus here to discuss it with us. So I'm going to invite him to read his own message and hopefully we'll have some great discussion about it.
No worries, yep. I remember this message well, actually, so it'll be good to have a discussion about it. But I feel the title of the message is probably not the correct title. It says that as a title, Jesus says he is not God but an elder brother. Sin has no existence except as it is created by mankind, and man must pay the penalties. Now, I probably would have called this message Truth, Error, Sin and Humility. Or something along those kind of lines.
Because that's the real essence of what's written?
Certainly. And I feel it's a very important principle, some very important principles are contained in this message that I believe that most people have little understanding of, even people who have been listening to Divine Truth for many years. And so I feel it's a very important message to gain a basic understanding of.
I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts and feelings about it.
So what do you want me to do?
Yeah, so if you'd be happy just to start reading and just pause where you feel it's a good place.
That we need to discuss some things.
Yeah,
okay.
say a few more things about it.
No worries. I am here, Jesus. I come tonight because I see that you are lonesome and feel the need of companionship. And I come to you as a brother and a friend to cheer you and make you feel that though you have no mortal friend with you, yet you have a friend in the spirit world who is closer than a mortal brother and who loves you with a deep and abiding love. I'd probably like to just comment about that. It's December the 25th, obviously. Yeah. And I've spent a lot of my life in this life alone on December the 25th, so I know the feelings as well that James had. And I was aware of the feelings he had when he was alone during the holiday period. He was often alone after Helen's death. And his children were off having their Christmases with other people and so forth. And he often felt quite lonely. And one of the reasons why we could easily channel to him most nights was because he felt quite lonely. And he wanted somebody to talk to. And obviously when we came and talked to him, he would listen to whatever we had to say. But also, I just wanted to state my love for the man. He was unique in a lot of ways, I feel, James Paget, and most people, I feel, who read the Paget messages do not understand that his unique condition allowed for the transmission of really, really clear messages of truth that we, prior to this time, could not channel to anybody on earth. We never found anybody up until this time with a willingness and openness to channeling the kind of information that we actually channeled to him. And as a result of that, I felt quite a deep love for him and spent a lot of time with him in the spirit world. And I feel that, well, even now, I think it's even stated, it is stated in the Paget messages themselves that even the people close to me in the celestial realms could not understand why I loved him so much and could not understand why I spent so much time with him.
Yeah, I have this running joke with you, don't I, about the fact that, as I reread the messages, there's all these messages. I often hear people comment about the fact that Paget had so many doubts and he needed so much reassurance. But really, if you examine the early part of the messages where you and others first started coming to him, a lot of people that he knew came to him and said, I don't know why he's talking to you. You're not that special. And you don't even have that much divine love.
You're not spiritual at all.
Yeah. And I often feel for him that,
getting all these doses of truth without having the ability emotionally really to cope with them at the time.
Yeah. And also the point that you mentioned about just the fondness that we both have for him. I feel he's an amazing case study, if you like. You can read the individual messages and they contain so much truth, but I'm often finding myself now as a medium, again, I'm examining the qualities of Paget as a medium that run all through the messages. And there's a lot, he has a deep humility. He also the incredible service that he does to spirits.
And his love for spirits in darkness was much more extreme than I've met since on earth. Even amongst the people who are mediums today, they don't have as much, that we know, don't have as much love for spirit in darkness that Paget had, and the ability to give the time to them that he wanted to give to them.
Yeah, that's what I feel. He didn't have any earthly reward for this service that he was doing.
No.
And often even Helen and others were saying to him, look, don't talk to those people who aren't a member of our band, you know, we need you in a good condition.
Yeah.
But he had a really strong feeling that, no, I want to help these people. And I find it's a really beautiful part of his nature.
Yeah, it is.
And if even Helen, who's sometimes warding him against it, if we examine her life in the spirit world, she's very much dedicated to helping as well. So
and
you can see the soul.
And also she said to him, she quite often marvelled about the level of assistance he could give to dark spirits. Assistance that we as celestial spirits couldn't easily give for lots of different reasons. Anyway, I said, so today has been one in which the people of your land have celebrated what they suppose is my birthday, and have also worshipped me as one of the triune Godhead, as they believe. But as I have told you before, such worship is all wrong and is very distasteful to me, and only makes me the more anxious and determined that this great falsehood shall be exposed and not believed in any longer. There is only one God, and that is the Father, and he alone must be worshipped, for he alone can save mortals from the result of their sins and from the consequences of the great fall of the first parents. I do not want men to look upon me as anything more than an older brother who is filled with the divine love of the Father and very close to him in the qualities of love and faith. So, you know, this is a problem that I face pretty much every Christmas time, the amount of worship that is focused towards myself, and obviously I've always had some distaste for it, and I still have some distaste for it. And I was coming to him in a lot of ways because he was one of the few people on earth at that moment who wasn't involved in this distasteful action towards myself. So, yeah.
How do you feel about all this? You have the unique position that like many people believe that you're God, and here you are coming, you know, 100 years ago to Paget and saying, trying to spread the truth that you're not, and it wasn't a very well known truth at that time, and still isn't really.
No.
Do you still have feelings about that as you read that?
Yeah, I've had to work my way through quite a lot of feelings about those kind of issues. Now my feelings are, I don't have as much sort of emotional feelings about it now as I used to have, but I still feel that the whole process of Christmas, I don't feel any attraction to it at all at this point. And when people around us are involved in Christmas, most of the time they don't understand why I don't seem to have any attraction to it. And I've never had any attraction to it my entire life, both Christmas and Easter. Obviously, Easter has a bit of a different feeling for me than Christmas because it was a time of a lot of trauma for yourself and the rest of the disciples at the time of my death. And so I do have more feelings associated perhaps with Easter. With Christmas, it wasn't the time of my birth in the first century, and as a date there was no import to it aside from the fact that Constantine selected the date based on the worship of the sun god because it was the shortest day of the Northern Hemisphere year, and that's the only reason why that particular date was ever chosen. And so it was even an amalgamation of pagan belief systems that caused that day to be chosen as the date of my birth. And what people do at my birth is way out of harmony with all the principles of God's truth. And so I've always felt...
In what way? What do you...
Well, firstly, worshipping a man is completely out of harmony with any of divine truth. Like every time we worship a man, we are going to be disappointed. Even if that man is Jesus, we're going to still be disappointed because he's just a man and he's not God. He can't do what God can do. He can't give divine love. As I explained in this message, I can't do all of the things that people expect or think that I can do. And as a result, they when they actually find out the truth about all those kind of things, they'll probably be disappointed. Yeah. Now, a lot of them direct that as disappointment towards myself, but that's, you know, that's not very fair considering I'm just a man. You know, if they're disappointed, they need to be disappointed with their own belief systems that have caused and encouraged such falsehood. So there's lots of different reasons why I feel that that is a very false teaching. And, you know, if people want to have a celebration, then it would be great if the celebration was about something meaningful. In this case, my birth, although perhaps an important time in the sense of the arrival of, or the potential, because at this point, the time of my birth, there was only the potential of the arrival of divine truth on the planet, because I had to go through a process. I had to embrace a process that God wanted me to embrace, but and for which we had been created, but it had to be engaged through my will. I had to decide that I wanted it as well. And so it wasn't a given that after my birth I would engage those particular processes. I could have exercised my will in a completely different direction. Of course, if that had happened, then somebody else would have been provided by God to exercise their will in the other direction.
Yeah, I suppose I see that it's very special that God decided to offer this gift again, and your birth sort of marks the... I was born later than you,
yeah.
And also you were born with some slightly different circumstances, so there was less error or less impediments to error, can we say?
Yeah, God provided the opportunity for divine love to come to the planet through, and also to the spirit world through the advent of our birth, but before then our conception, really.
Yeah.
But it did have to. We had to engage our will for it to occur, and I feel that most people don't even understand that. They sort of feel it was some kind of given.
Yes.
And you know, I feel there's quite a lot of issues in this process of belief, the belief systems of the Christian belief systems, that reduce all of that choice out of the equation and almost make it that I am some kind of puppet of God or God himself.
Yeah.
Either one is just as false as the other. Because
and it reduces your identity as a man and your will, the exercise.
And the
of
fact that I'm
decisions.
allowed to choose whatever I wish to choose, and I have the same constraints placed upon me as every other being who's ever other human soul that has ever incarnated has placed upon them.
Yeah.
So, you know, the idea or concept that I don't have the same constraints, or I'm not under the same laws, or I don't have the same principle, and there's even people who believe that I don't have a soulmate and all those kind of things, they're all false, and they cause a lot of false beliefs as a consequence. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But if I continue,
yes.
I say, I am a spirit who is possessed of a knowledge of the attributes of the Father that no other spirit is. And